My first year of college, a guy in my dorm had these brutal looking scars on one leg that ran from his knee all the way down to his ankle. And he was constantly asked, "What happened to your leg?" And he would say, "Shark bite," or "I lost to a truck." And I never knew what the truth was, and I'm not really sure anyone did, but he wore shorts in most weather and walked with confidence. And here I am, years later, trying to exude that same level of confidence when I'm out with my transgender spouse. She might as well have scars too, the way some people stare. So for this episode, I want to share what it's like in a daily public setting with a transgender person. I'm Lisa. Welcome, listeners, to Straight Wife Trans Life. Most of us have a restaurant or a place we frequent for a meal or quick snack, and we don't think twice about anything other than, what are we going to order? Or, I hope it's not crowded, I'm really hungry. That used to be my family, not a care in the world. Just your average, friendly family of three, mom, dad, and kid, heading to a restaurant together because nobody wanted to cook. And you know what? We are still an average, friendly family of three, but one of us looks different now, and we have to use a different checklist before we leave the house. It's not just, did I turn everything off? There is also, do I have my pepper spray? Check. Do I have my phone in case of emergency? Check. Do we have a plan B should we run into a heated situation and need to leave? Check. When a loved one comes out as transgender, you become aware very quickly of things you need to think about when you go out as a family. Even if she is alone, I make sure my spouse has pepper spray and her phone. But as a family, there are hurdles along the way to finding normalcy in a public setting, and I feel like there are two main hurdles. The first hurdle I call a rejection hurdle. Will the restaurant we have been going to for years reject us? Will our favorite checker at the grocery store reject us? Will our mail carrier still say hi when they notice that one of us is transitioning? This hurdle is temporary. It just applies to that first time your favorite server or your mail carrier sees the change for their own eyes. So let me explain. We've been going to a Japanese restaurant for years, to the point that they know our order and they laugh with us if we change it just even a little bit. When my spouse was ready to go out in public as female, this rejection hurdle was the biggest because what if our regular, lovely server said, "Get out," or were rude to us? Then that's it for us. Our search would be on for a new place. But knock on wood, our place still stands. The changes in my spouse's looks have been gradual, and our servers noticed, but never said anything or treated us differently. I have no doubt that they have discussed this when we haven't been around. I think that's a very normal thing to do. And there was a little adjustment period. You can sense when someone looks like they have questions or they seem slightly confused. But we never felt unwelcome. Everyone at the restaurant has been gracious. They affirm my spouse's gender, and we still feel like that typical family that we are. Life moves forward, but the fear of being rejected by places you enjoy or people you've always liked to interact with is scary. The second hurdle is more of a main hurdle because it's an everyday question. What type of person will I be dealing with today? What type of person will be at the restaurant today? Or at the grocery store, the post office, or the convenience store when we're on a road trip? We can't control who we are going to run into or upset somehow. But we plan for how we might need to react. And this is the bigger reason for that longer checklist when we leave the house. So far, things have been calm, knock on wood. We've just had very dirty looks thrown at my spouse. And then they see me and our child, and it becomes a confused, dirty look. At the Japanese restaurant I mentioned, we were once seated next to this couple, and you could just feel the tension. And I didn't look at them, but I could just feel that disapproval. Luckily, they were finishing up, but if they hadn't been about to leave, I would have just quietly found a way to ask the server if we could be seated elsewhere. But it was not a good feeling, and when our son is with us, my spouse and I tend to communicate with looks so he doesn't get a sense of anything being uncomfortable. He just turned 10. So after the couple left, we did check in with a few minimal words. Did you sense that? Yeah. Okay, me too. I'm just checking. For families with a transgender partner, I feel like the most difficult setting is school. And this relates to that second hurdle again of what type of person will we be dealing with today? Only a handful of people know at school that my spouse is transgender, but now that a year has passed and my spouse is gaining that confidence and comfortable with her changes, she wants to come to school events. And why shouldn't she? She is the same loving parent she was before the transition. And let me describe what people see so you can kind of get an idea. They see a 5'8", size 6 feminine body with a nicely made up face of someone who looks similar to a man they might have seen at school before. Fun fact, we actually share the same shoe size. But this is what people see when they see my spouse. There was an open house last month, and parents were invited to come look at various projects the students have been working on. Now, I've learned to ignore people when I'm out in public with my spouse. It just helps me not allow any that negativity keep us from having a good time. But I did look around this time because, after all, this is hurdle number 2. What type of people am I dealing with today? Like, what type of parents are at school? And I found that there were some questionable looks, mainly from the male parents or guardians of the kids. And the women were a little more like, whatever. And that male negativity towards transgender people will be its own episode. But I don't think that all looks being thrown at a transgender person should be labeled bad. They just vary from the curious stance of, I'm trying to piece together what I'm looking at, to that more negative, ew, yuck. But we didn't stay that long. We came to support our son, and we said hi to friends who've been supportive, and then we left. This past week, there was another event at school, and I have a positive experience from that one. As we left the event, we had to sign out at the office. We walked with one of the moms who didn't know us, and I introduced myself and my spouse just by her first name. And then the mom said, and you are so-and-so's mom, and you are... And there was a pause. And my spouse said, parent. And the three of us started laughing because I realized we hadn't actually talked about how to introduce my spouse. So we just laughed together, and I said, I told this mom, like, we're figuring this out. This is new. And yes, this is our son's other parent. And after she signed out, she said, well, I hope you ladies have a nice day. And let me tell you, the kindest thing you can do to show a sliver of support to a transgender person or even a non-binary person is to address them by their true gender. When that parent said, I hope you ladies have a nice day, it made my spouse so happy. It was a subtle way of saying, no problems here. And what it does is it just clears the air and makes it easier for a transgender person to breathe. And that type of support goes a long way because every single time we go out as a family, often daily, but every single time, we have to be extra aware of our surroundings. And we're always thinking, will we be rejected? And who are we dealing with today? So, like I mentioned, I've learned to avoid eye contact in public with people around us because then any of that, ew, yuck look, the looks that can be thrown, don't bother me. I'm just trying to have a nice time with my family, and there is no need for negativity. And we're enjoying ourselves like your family is. And I can vouch for transgender people and assure anyone that transgender people are not aliens. They are just regular people trying to get through the day and feel accepted like everyone else is. But if you are someone who is wondering how to make a transgender person feel more comfortable in public, or you just want them to know that they can breathe easy around you, it's really, really simple. You can just acknowledge their gender if it happens to come up, or just give a transgender person a compliment. I mean, sometimes it helps with any of us, right? Just throw out a compliment and make somebody's day. Just, I love your purse, or that color looks really nice on you. And that does it for this episode. It's just a little glimpse of how we have to be extra cautious as a family with a transgender person. But until next time, breathe easy and hey, you look nice in that shirt.